Hello, happy Monday. Now, Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine, this Friday night in Minneapolis, thanks to Ronnie Gonzalez for the tip on this clip to start today's show and your week.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for welcoming us to the Battle of Minneapolis. My friends, if it looks like fascism, sounds like fascism, acts like fascism, dresses like fascism, talks like fascism, kills like fascism, and lies like fascism, brothers and sisters, it's fucking fascism. It's here, it's now, it's in my city, it's in your city, and it must be resisted, protested, defended against, stood up to, exposed, ousted, overthrown, and driven out. By who? By you and by me. Minneapolis is an inspiration to the entire nation. You have heroically stood up against ICE, stood up against Trump, stood up against this terrible rising tide of state terror. You have stood up for your neighbors and for yourselves, for democracy and for justice. Ain't nobody coming to save us except us. And brothers and sisters, you are showing the way. To that end, we would like to begin our program with an old Native American war chant. We encourage you to sing along. In this very room, Prince created a revolution. Now it's our turn.
We are off, and I don't think John Carroll will mind me playing Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine in Minneapolis over the weekend, where they also performed with Bruce Springsteen, joined the concert, singing his debut live, Streets of Minneapolis. And then Morello joined Springsteen for the Ghost of Tom Joad. The concert was held midday before the protest march that was held that afternoon in Minneapolis. Rage Against the Machine legends, Tom Morello, a legend. I'd interviewed him a couple times, and those are two feathers in my cap. I'm real proud of. Hello and happy Monday to you. Thank you very much for pressing play on Stand Up. The best daily news and public interest podcast available to you, completely independent, brought to you by you, ad-free. Who does it better? Stand Up with Pete Dominic. Thank you very much for joining me. And my special guest today is Christina Greer, Dr. Chrissy Greer of Fordham University, political science professor and author and friend of mine, friend of the show, joins me today at about 46 minutes into today's show, but you don't want to miss the top. Like I do every day, I've got your headlines and a clip show for you. The clips from the weekend, as well as some comedy, as always, but a lot of news, lots of news. Don Lemon getting arrested, more Epstein files dropping on Friday, everything fallout out of Minneapolis and the rest of these ICE raids and so much more. So let's get to it. Here are your headlines for Monday, the 2nd of February. Welcome to February. It's Groundhog Day. Do you care? I think it's fun. I think it's great for the people in that Pennsylvania town where they get the day off of school and raise a whole bunch of money and so on. Anyway, I would also say the forecast, look, it's going to be pretty cold. The coldest day I've been out in years this past weekend when I was in Brooklyn with Ava on Sunday, helping her with her film shoot. Been running all over the place, but it was cold. And the forecast looks, I don't think you need a groundhog. You just need an iPhone, at least in the Northeast. Single digits, lows, and highs of like 20 for 10 days. So buckle up and find a way to get outside anyway, is my advice for everybody in these kind of extreme weather temperatures. And to myself, of course, today's news, the weekend's news. Friday, we learned that there was 3 million pages of documents from the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, completing the release of records as mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, according to the Deputy Attorney General Marco Rubio, voice twin, and most corrupt person ever at the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, who was on a bunch of Sunday shows, by the way. He said this at a news conference, so we don't know if we're going to get anything out. But what we learned in this most recent dump is that there are more horrible men than we thought, some people probably thought, in these files named that hadn't been before, including, I think this is why I got a lot of attention, because people hadn't seen his name implicated, and he was on fire, on the rise. I've heard of him, followed him, and know a lot of people who like his advice. Dr. Peter Attia is very famous. He's very arrogant. He's like an asshole kind of guy, but he's says he's got his MD, but there's some question about if he ever, I don't think he ever practiced in clinic or anything. Anyway, Peter Attia absolutely hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, and it's gross. It's pretty gross, pretty terrible. But, he's just been signed now as a contributor to CBS News. So is that going to affect that? Apparently Barry Weiss's wife was also friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So the woman, who is gay, by the way, I think it does matter here, because why are we hanging out with Epstein? Well, because he's powerful. And it would seem the other thing about the Epstein files, or that we've learned, I don't know, and I don't think anybody can draw total conclusions, but there are so many dots and there's so much smoke that Jeffrey Epstein was working for former head of the KGB and now the leader of Russia for decades, Vladimir Putin, that he was running a giant honeypot operation, which is the word used in intelligence circles where you use an attractive woman to gain access or to blackmail a man, a powerful man, or any man that you want. And there's a lot about that, but not in the most reputable places yet. But I'm definitely interested in that theory. There's a lot of dots there. Again, I don't like to be that guy who's going to tell you everything the way it is and then get it wrong or misinform you. I just don't know, but that looks pretty bad to me. A lot more about the Jeffrey Epstein files and what we learned, but I'm going to move on because this is just supposed to be headlines, and I don't always do it rapid fire. Apparently, the Department of Justice pursuing a civil rights investigation into the killing of Alex Preddy, reversing a decision that had drawn criticism. So that's good news. I mean, it is and it isn't. This Department of Justice doing an investigation is not to be trusted. But the Senate moving forward with the plan to prevent a partial government shutdown. The House is not going to take up the package, though, before the midnight deadline. That was on Friday. So the government's partly shut down. The House could vote to reopen it by today, though. Interesting how it's really not getting any attention at all. I guess maybe it just shut down overnight. Hopefully that's the case. In the Middle East, Iran will not engage in direct negotiations with the United States unless our insane leader stops threatening it. According to their foreign minister over the weekend, he said talks to calm tensions between Iran and the United States had to be based on fair and equitable approach, cannot begin with threats. Okay, good luck with that. Despite protests in small towns and cities across the country, the administration is pushing ahead with the purchase of warehouses it plans to convert into immigration jails and what could be the largest expansion of such detention capacity in U.S. history. So they're trying to build these new jails. Some people will call them camps. And people are protesting, but we'll see where that goes. But continue to be out there. And if you're hearing about it in your town, let us know, because they're widely reported that this is an effort underway. Okay, so a bunch of other news stories I wanted to mention here, including just you're hearing a lot of Republican apparatchiks and cabinet secretary types on television and elsewhere lying that the Lion King has brought down inflation. In fact, it was about 3% when he started. And it's about 3% now. When Biden was president, my understanding is the highest was 9%. You'll hear them say that Trump brought it down from 11% to 3%. He didn't. It wasn't anywhere near that. He hasn't brought inflation down, period. And I just thought it's worth mentioning that. If I'm wrong, I will correct it by whatever percentage that I am wrong. Well, it was just a matter of time before we learned the names of the two federal immigration officers who fired on Minneapolis protester and hero Alex Preddy. They have been identified in government records as Border Patrol agent named Jesus Ochoa and a Customs and Border Patrol agent named Raimundo Gutierrez. The records viewed by ProPublica list Ochoa at 43 and Gutierrez 35 as the shooters during the deadly encounter last weekend that left Pretty dead and ignited these massive protests and calls for criminal investigations across the country. And what does that mean? That they're both brown guys, Hispanic guys. They both apparently grew up in South Texas. I don't know. Ask their families. All right. Well, other stories that are very important that might have gotten kind of undercovered because of all the other ones, including his Epstein files. But Wall Street Journal says 4 days before his inauguration, King Hungry VIII had lieutenants sent to an Abu Dhabi royal. They signed a deal with the family, the Trump family, to purchase 49% stake in their fledgling cryptocurrency venture for $500 million. This is before the inauguration. According to the company's documents, the buyers would pay half up front, steering $187 million to the Trump family entities. And the deal with World Liberty Financial was signed by, guess who? Eric Trump. At least $31 million went to entities affiliated with the family of Steve Witkoff. I mean, could they be any more corrupt? Could they be trading American AI chips, in this case, a deal for chips, for investment in their company? That's what they got. You are not supposed to do this. Foreign government official taking major ownership in an incoming U.S. president's company. They have been trying to, by the way, I didn't even mention, this is a sheikh from Abu Dhabi named Tanoon, and he's been making efforts to get AI hardware for years. The Biden administration, of course, didn't give it to him. They had fears that the sensitive technology would be diverted to China because this guy has companies and relationships, rather, that have close ties to the sanctioned tech giant Huawei, however it's pronounced, Huawei, and the other Chinese firms. So this should be a major, major story. And look up the spy sheikh from Abu Dhabi and his relationship and the deal made with the Trump family and the Witkoff family. This is all reporting from the Wall Street Journal. The New Yorker calculated that he's made $4 billion in the past year off of the presidency, and that is a conservative take because he excluded all of these other things he already hadn't done. So that's what this is all about for the Trump family, obviously, and the Witkoff family and others who are profiting hugely off of the presidency. Big story, Saturday night, surprise victory in Texas. Democrats notch another victory in special elections during the second term of King Hungry VIII, flipping a seat in the Texas Senate that Trump himself won by 17 points in 2024. He's a union president. He's an Air Force veteran. His name is Taylor Remmett, and he defeated a Trump-backed Lee Wamnasis, can't say her name, in a runoff for the Fort Worth area 9th District. His victory marks the latest success for Democrats ahead of this year's midterms, and it is a big deal, a huge deal. If things continue the way they are, if his popularity or his public approval rating remains in the 30s, Democrats could absolutely not only win that Senate seat, a U.S. Senate seat, John Cornyn is running for, especially if Ken Paxton wins in the primary, but they could end up making Republicans look even dumber when they would net the 3 House seats that Texas gerrymandered because Dear Leader made them. Apparently one of the big differences is in Hispanic voters, by the way. He's completely lost them. Like a 50% swing or point swing. It's just a wild ride, but you can see why. I mean, I also saw news that the Cuban for Trump re-election campaign leader, the guy who ran that organization, he's a Cuban supporting Trump. He just got deported. So, yeah, it's backfiring. It's one thing to endorse him than just be embarrassed. Great sketch on Saturday Night Live over the weekend. You got to watch it about this woman who tells her family, I've changed my mind about Trump. But imagine the consequence not being humiliation, but deportation. Or something else worse. Lastly, on this issue, here's a quote from the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, who says, a swing of this magnitude is not something that could be dismissed. Republicans should be clear-eyed about the political environment heading into the midterms. All right. Now, a whole thing on the latest Epstein dump. And this comes to you from Ron Filipowski, who's a journalist who does a really good job with all these kind of roundups and aggregating things. MidasPlus.com. He works with those Midas Bros. I don't love their show, their channel, but I do love this guy, Ron Filipowski, who aggregates things in a real good way. He's real smart and funny on social media as well. Anyway, here's what he says, starting with the fact that I'm just going to use Trump to make it easier. I got to say his name. Trump was asked by reporters for his response to the latest of the Epstein files. And he said, I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping, the radical left. Guess what? Trump's name appears in the files over 1,800 times. So I don't know who told him that. They probably did, just what he wants to hear. And he's still in denial, or he knows exactly what he did, which is why he's not going to heaven, according to him. Speaker Mike Johnson was asked about it on NBC. President Trump's name appears throughout the Epstein files. Do you have any outstanding questions about the relationship between Trump and Epstein? Johnson: I do not. Well, glad that's settled. Checks and balances had a good run, says Philip Kowski. Elon Musk was also busy over the weekend trying to explain his emails to Epstein, where he was trying to get invited to the island only to have Epstein blow him off. They showed the Tesla boss asking to attend one of the, quote, wildest parties on Epstein Island in 2012. This was just 3 years after the disgraced financier Epstein was released from prison for soliciting prostitution from a minor. You're inviting yourself. Please have me over. I know you just got out of jail for having sex with a girl, but I want to come over to one of your sex parties. Musk wrote, probably just Tallulah and me. I guess that was his wife at the time. What day or night will be the wildest party on our island? At the time of the emails, he was married, to actress Tallulah Riley. A year later, in December 2013, he also asked Epstein, when will be the BFI St. Bart's area over the holidays? We're going to be there. Is there a good time to visit? Epstein replied, always space for you. Musk says, probably like the 1st of January, and then to which Epstein replies, the 2nd or 3rd would be perfect. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Okay, he didn't say that. I added that. Another email exchange shows Epstein arranging to visit a SpaceX launch to have lunch together. Oh, okay. Not arranging a launch. I read that wrong. He wasn't having a launch for Epstein. They probably had that at some point. Epstein was arranging a visit to SpaceX to have lunch together. Sorry. Musk posted to explain himself on the social media platform that he bought so that people wouldn't talk about him. He says, I had very little correspondence with Epstein, but was well aware that some of my email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by my detractors to smear my name. I don't know. I don't know if it's your detractors. I think it's anyone who reads the shit that you wrote and say and think. Representative Congressman Daniel Goldman said to Midas on how 3 million documents were withheld by the Department of Justice from release based on expectations to the law. He said, I don't understand why they get to decide without explanation why half of the material should be held back, and especially because Trump's name is all over it. So now we know why there was such a cover-up, and they can't even do that well. Now, listen to this reaction. This is Trisha Hope, a woman who is a self-described January 6 activist and a national delegate to the Republican National Committee. And she said, as a result of this latest dump of Epstein files, she said, I'm going to do this accent, I feel physically ill knowing I worked so hard to support Trump, and it appears he is a sick pedophile. I can't fathom the evil mind of a person that has to harm children. I expect accountability for everyone who are found to have committed crimes per the Epstein disclosure. I don't care which side of the aisle they're on, and even if they sit in the White House, no one gets a pass, and this damn sure isn't a hoax, President Trump. Wow, Trisha Hope sounds weird. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said that even with everything in this Epstein drop, remember, this is a minority of the files. This is still just what they were willing to release in violation of the law, which requires release of all files. Pam Bondi's DOJ is still hiding most of them. We need them all, quote, end quote. That's what AOC said. Thomas Massey, Republican congressman from Kentucky, has been on the forefront, the leader on this issue to get the truth out. Co-sponsored bill with Ro Khanna to force release of the file said that within hours of the Epstein file release, the super PAC funded by Israeli first billionaires, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson, who himself appears in Epstein's Black Book, bought another $800,000 of TV ads against me. I'll still win, but if I lose, it was worth it. Exactly. Exactly. It was worth it. Shannon Watts with Moms Demand Action says there are over 1,000 emails between Dr. Peter Attia and Jeffrey Epstein. Attia was recently hired by CBS as a news contributor. There are also emails between Epstein and the wife of Barry Weiss, who runs CBS. I think I already mentioned that. I know I did. Dr. Vin Gupta said Peter Attia makes millions convincing us he's the longevity guru and to trust all his health advice. The private Attia was just revealed. Disgusting and abominable behavior. And to think he's a CBS News medical analyst. Another person who was in the Epstein files was Brett Ratner, making a comeback by directing Melania's movie after he was blacklisted by Hollywood for multiple sexual harassment allegations. Well, his movie only made $7 million, and they spent $100 million, and he's been named in the Epstein files again. So that is a bit of a roundup. Hope you appreciated it. I got it all in one take. Those are the headlines that I've gathered for you. I definitely missed many, but that was a pretty robust roundup. You're not going to get it anywhere else every day in podcast form the way I do it. So thank you very much for your support. Let me know what I missed. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com. Now let's get to the clips. That's the second part of the news segment that I produce every day. Also takes a lot of time and work, but we got all the best ones for you from the weekend, including last night's Grammys. Yeah. I don't really watch award shows. I'm not a fan, but I always like when they get controversial or political. And last night they certainly did. The stars were out in Los Angeles last night. The 68th Grammy Awards hosted by Trevor Noah. A spectacular night of performances from the music industry's best. A lot of people are obviously talking about that are qualified to talk about whether or not Justin Bieber still has it, whether his voice is better than ever, and whether or not he should have worn a shirt. I don't know. But what I do know is there was some great quips and protests on stage in Los Angeles last night, and I've got many of them for you. Let's start with Trevor Noah, the joke that is apparently getting him sued. That's right. At 1 a.m., Hippo POTUS rolled over in bed and threatened to sue Trevor Noah, who hosted the Grammys, for this joke.
Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
Yes, that's a great joke, by the way. It's a great joke. And some people might say, ignore him. Well, that's one strategy. No, I say take every shot you can at that thin-skinned douche and everybody who supports him at the Grammys and anywhere else. I'm for it. And that's a great joke, by the way. I'm glad he implicates Bill Clinton to make sure that nobody thinks that liberals or Democrats think that that Bill Clinton is in any way an outstanding human being. No, he's a garbage person. And I don't say that about people generally because it's dehumanizing. But maybe some specific people who've assaulted a lot of women. Yeah. And gotten away with it? Yeah, sure. Also, he never said that Trump went to the island. He said he's got to find a place to be. And then Trump, just went out and wrote a truth post, whatever, saying he's going to sue him for a joke. He's going to sue him for a joke he made. I wonder if Trump's biggest fan, musician Nicki Minaj, will sue Trevor Noah for this joke that he made.
Every single person here, John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I loved it. Okay, well, guess what? Bad Bunny won. He's going to be performing in the Super Bowl, so now everybody's going to know who Bad Bunny is. He took home the award for Album of the Year, marking the first time an all-Spanish-language album had done so. And, man, I'm going to just leave the ovation that he gets. He walks up on the stage, and this is what happens.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say eyes out.
Damn. Yeah.
We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans, and we are Americans.
Yeah, Bad Bunny on the biggest stage with the biggest album right there last night at the Grammy Awards. And there's more. This is the Best New Artist winner. Her name is Olivia Dean. She's a British singer-songwriter. Here's what she had to say.
I guess I want to say I'm up here as a granddaughter of an immigrant. I wouldn't be here. I'm a product of bravery, and I think those people deserve to be celebrated.
All right, now let's move on to another artist. This is R&B singer Kehlani. She used their, I guess the pronouns are their victory speech for the first ever Grammy to make a bold statement. And this is what Kehlani said while accepting an award for Best R&B Performance for their single Folded. Kehlani apparently is a lesbian icon, took the stage and used their first ever acceptance speech to reiterate the importance of standing up to ICE in the artistic community. And, well, apparently the censors didn't catch Kehlani.
What I want to make sure that I say is that everybody is so powerful in this room and in this room later. And together we're stronger in numbers to speak against all the injustice going on in the world right now. Yeah. So instead of letting it be just a couple few here and there, I hope everybody's inspired to join together as a community of artists and speak out against what's going on. And I'm going to leave this and say, fuck ICE.
All right. Well, I really like that. And I also loved what Samara Joy had to say. And I also love learning about all these artists for doing this segment. But she got a 4-year winning streak at the Grammys last night. She's a jazz vocalist, and here she is on the red carpet. I think she puts it perfectly. When people talk about whether or not artists should say anything or wear pins or whatever, this is exactly how I see it as well. Very well-spoken, apparently 26-year-old.
Love it. I can't help but notice that you're wearing the Ice Out pin, so I have to ask, what inspired you to sort of go with this message today?
Being a person, and just seeing the news and being absolutely heartbroken and realizing, like, now is not the time to get super, I don't want to say depressed, but super down or downtrodden about what's going on, but to speak up and to stand up for those who can't, at the moment, stand up for themselves. It's the least that I can do. I feel like now I'm a full-fledged adult. I don't know why 26 all of a sudden feels like, okay, I guess I'm off my parents' health insurance, so I need to contribute to the world in a bigger way. But yeah, I want to stand up. I don't want to draw attention to myself all the time without recognizing the humanity between myself and all the people around the world who are experiencing such tragedies. So I get to celebrate tonight. It's a privilege and an honor, but I want to speak out for those who can't.
Yeah, it's perfectly said. Perfectly said by that 26-year-old woman in the spotlight on the red carpet at the Grammys last night. And here are the legends, Gloria Estefan and her husband, Emilio Estefan. I think we just hear from Gloria here. She was on the red carpet and was also asked about it.
Took the time backstage to really talk about what's happening in our country right now with Latinos. Talk to me about why it was important for you to use that moment to spread that message.
Look, I used the moment because they asked me about it, but I've used the moment before. I have been very vocal about the fact that I'm scared of what I'm seeing in this country. I've been living here for decades. This is not the place that I grew up in. We need to all stand up. In college, I took literature of the Holocaust, and the biggest lesson that I learned was that silence is our biggest enemy. We all have to stand together and say that we agree that the border has to be secured, but this is not what's happening. Families are being torn apart. Children, hundreds of children are in detention. And in horrible conditions. I have personal experience with people in my circle that their loved ones have been taken away and have been months in detention for no reason because they haven't been deported, they haven't done anything. So no, we need to stand up and we need to vote and show our political and economic power.
Yes, indeed, Gloria Estefan. And finally, I think this is the last one. This is Billie Eilish. She won a big award last night. Her brother collaborates with her, so he's standing on stage with her. But this is what we heard from this young, very influential artist who my daughters were huge fans of. And I got them tickets to a concert just last year. They got to see her perform the song that she won for. Here it is, her speech.
No one is illegal on stolen land. yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And
then this is where they dropped out the sound, and she said, "Fuck ICE."
I say sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go, Billie Eilish. That is how it's done. All right, the Grammys. That's your Grammy Roundup, brought to you by you. Can't do it without you. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Now, here is Don Lemon with comments after he was released, after he was arrested. And listen, this is horrible that they've arrested a journalist doing journalism, period, no matter what you think of Don Lemon. But nobody loved being arrested and the attention more than Don Lemon. And he's going to benefit from it for sure with probably another 1 million subscribers. He'll be a leader in independent media. Well, he already is. And this has only made him more powerful, which is why it's so dumb to have arrested Don Lemon for doing journalism. But this is the reaction we need. Here he is.
I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do. I stand with all of them, and I will not be silenced. I look forward to my day in court. Thank you all.
Yes, he's going to have his day in court, and he is going to capitalize on it because we're going to be talking about him, or much of the media will be up until then and after then. But I thought SE Cup speaks for me because I also worked with Don Lemon and didn't really like Don Lemon, but I also understand he's a black gay man that's clearly been targeted, probably as a reason and a result for that, but even more because he's so influential. And trying to take down someone at the top of independent media it's tactful. But I don't know. This is petty-ish, but not really, because I think it's a larger point that even if you don't like someone, it's not petty. This is fine and fair. Even if you don't like someone or even respect them or even if you hate them, you can't violate their rights against the law.
Something to get it out of the way, because it'd be very disingenuous for me to sit here and say, Don Lemon and I are friends. Don Lemon and I were great colleagues. We're not. I don't like Don Lemon. I don't say that to be petty or gossipy. I say that because it's important that whether you have a personal grievance with him, you don't like him, you don't like his politics, you don't like his opinions, you don't like his journalism, is irrelevant. Getting a tip from a group that they're going to do something newsworthy, embedding with that group, asking them questions, broadcasting it, and putting context into what is happening is journalism. And that cannot be a crime. Whatever you think of Don Lemon, and my relationship with him is complicated. Defending him is not. And I hope he would do the same for me one day. I'll just end by saying, of course, if any evidence comes up that he was colluding with or conspiring with people to commit a crime, this story becomes very different. But to my reading of the indictment, that wasn't in evidence.
Yeah, you read the indictment and it's just citing what you can see on his live stream that he was doing, yes, which, as you noted repeatedly in your Substack,
journalism.
Was journalism.
Yes, there you go. Caitlin Collins, SE Cup. I think that's perfectly said. What do you think? Okay, let's move on and get to a clip I thought was clever and good because Pete Buttigieg goes on Fox News, and in this case with Kayleigh McEnany, and he really does a great job. I watched the whole 10-minute interview. She had to end it early because he was spitting so many truths in his Pete Buttigieg way. I really like this moment where she tries to crowbar in the trans people in sports issue like it matters to people that much anymore. And Pete Buttigieg pivots out of it, gives a good answer, doesn't avoid it, and then pivots to a way more important issue. Masterclass, sir.
You know, I think the president's response would likely be that the Biden-era high of inflation was 11%. I brought it down to 2.7%. I have the right solution. There's more work to be done, I imagine is what he would say. I understand you have a different viewpoint, but you did mention some of these issues playing out, and one of them is the issue of biological men in women's sports. And it's a big issue. In fact, it's one that even Kamala Harris's internal data said moved the electorate by 2.7 percentage points. So where do you come down on that issue, which will no doubt be asked in a presidential debate potentially?
Well, I think approaching an issue like that, the most important thing is to take everyone seriously, take people across the different sides of this issue seriously, whether you're talking about parents who are wondering what this means for fairness for their kids competing, or parents who want to make sure that their kids aren't being discriminated against and get a chance to participate. And, you know, this is going to be different in different cases, right? Middle school is not the same thing as the Olympics. Chess is not the same thing as weightlifting, which is why I think these are decisions that are best not made by politicians. But I also have to tell you, I would be surprised if this is a top 3 or even a top 10 voter issue in the midterms this year. I know that millions and millions of dollars came from Republican campaigns to put this issue front and center. They might feel that temptation again, even though I think that effort largely fell flat when they tried to change the subject to this from affordability in the elections in late 2025. But to me, at a time when, again, you got energy bills through the roof, the president has failed to do the things he specifically promised to do, like cut healthcare prices or premiums or cut grocery prices, and at a time when we have these shocking events in Minnesota, right, when you have American citizens being arrested, being gunned down, something that I think can bring a lot of people together. Watching somebody exercising their First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights. I know my party doesn't talk about the Second Amendment as much, but I think seeing an American taken to the ground, having his gun removed, and then after having his gun removed, being shot in the back up to 10 times, and then having the government say that he was a terrorist all along, based on no evidence besides the fact that he was a lawful concealed carry holder. I think those are the kinds of things that, as painful as they are, can actually bring together a lot of Americans to say, hey, we need a different direction. Or even if you do usually vote Republican, we need some balance in our government so that you got a Congress that isn't just a rubber stamp, that can exercise some oversight over an administration that's gotten out of control.
You know,
all right. There you go. I thought that was so well done. So well done. And guess what? Scott Pelley, 60 Minutes, which has widely been criticized, deservedly so. I don't think there's much to criticize about this. Here's the audio from last night. You hear some B-roll under it. Sorry, but let me know if you see this segment on 60 Minutes, if you think it's well done. Scott Pelley, CBS News, 60 Minutes, talking about Alex Preddy. In this segment, he's speaking to Republican Senator Rand Paul.
President's advisor, Stephen Miller, called Preddy an assassin. That's a lot of people not telling the truth.
It sounds like terrible judgment. I mean, terrible conclusions, incorrect conclusions, stating things that no one else believes. You can lie to your heart's content if there's no video, but the video doesn't support what they're saying.
You seem to be saying trust is broken.
Without question.
There's been little trust in Minneapolis for a month. The city is led by Democrats and is a sanctuary city. By city ordinance, Minneapolis does not allow its police to assist in federal immigration enforcement. Last month, to sweep up illegal immigrants, the Trump administration ordered in 3,000 officers of the Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE. It's a force 5 times larger than the Minneapolis police. Images of brutality inflamed protesters who, in turn, harassed the agents.
You should be marching with us!
Blowing whistles, blocking streets, pushing the limits of the First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. The Department of Justice says last week, 16 people were charged with assaulting officers or property.
In your view, do the protesters in Minneapolis bear any responsibility?
Well, sure. I mean, the thing is, if you were my son or daughter, would I tell you to spit on the police? Absolutely not. Would I tell you to yell and scream at them? No. I would tell you to go to a primary and knock on doors, sign up people, and try to convince people, particularly in a primary, of who to vote for. That is the way I would protest. But is it illegal to protest? No.
All right. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more points of view. That's just part of that segment, but I liked it. Speaking of Kentucky, here is Thomas Massie, congressman from Kentucky, who has led the victims in Congress along with Ro Khanna. As a Republican, though, he's gone against the Trump administration. As a result, he's been threatened by the FBI. Listen to this. He wanted it on the record. Good for him.
Also, I'm going to say this here on camera because it's important. One of Kash Patel's staff threatened my staff with a criminal investigation if we didn't straighten up and play ball.
I was going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, and I didn't,
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, you brought it up.
And so, like a criminal investigation having nothing to do. He said it was going to be a fraud. We're going to investigate one of your staff for fraud. Right. And he told another one of my staff this. If you guys don't straighten up, if you want to play hardball, if this is how you want to play it or something like that, this member of your staff is going to get criminally investigated for fraud. A very specific threat.
That was it. That's the clip. But good. Get it on the record to protect yourself and your staff. Thomas Massie, well done. All right, Todd Blanche, the deputy AG, went on a bunch of shows yesterday, including ABC's This Week. But I picked this one segment that I'm going to share because it's pretty outrageous. This guy's the absolute worst, terrible person and liar and protecting very, very bad people who have assaulted kids. And he works for Donald Trump. So, I mean, he's by that definition a terrible person. And he was on CNN with Dana Bash, and they were talking about the arrest of Don Lemon, and I thought Dana does a pretty good job. She brought the receipts, and so here it is.
Bottom line question for you is, was this really about what you just described, or was it about trying to make an example out of somebody who the president has sparred with?
I don't even know that the president's even ever thought of Don Lemon. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I will tell you, we're not making examples of people. The day after that happened, the Attorney General flew to Minneapolis. She was there for 3 days. What we saw, there is no scenario under which the American people are comfortable or think that that was right. I'm sorry. So, no, it's not about making an example. It's about justice.
I want to move on. But the White House, on the official Twitter handle, celebrated his arrest with the social media and a chain emoji, and it's pretty clear that they're very well aware in the White House of this. I want to ask about Georgia.
No, I didn't say they weren't aware. Wait. Hold on one second.
And
I didn't say they weren't
celebrating
aware.
That was afterwards.
You said that. No. You said that President Trump had some vendetta or something against Mr. Lemon. I said I don't know whether he even ever thought of Mr. Lemon. I have no idea.
Yesterday,
You're right.
He called
there
him
was
a sleazebag.
A tweet that went out.
Just so you know, he called him a sleazebag just yesterday.
After his arrest. His arrest.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Don Lemon tweeted, Trump tweeted about Don Lemon like dozens of times over the past 3 years, or like at least 10 times, I think I saw was the number. So let's now go back to Fox News because Senator Chris Murphy does a great job as well, not being distracted by lies. I thought this is another great appearance, and I wanted to share it.
So we're going to talk to Senator Graham in a few minutes, and I do think there are places that you guys have some agreement, body cams and those kinds of things. Seems to be some bipartisan buy-in. Now, Tom Homan went to Minneapolis this week, said he's trying to turn down the temperature there. He says, yes, states don't have to cooperate, but where they do, it can be helpful. Here's what he said.
The more agents we have in the jails, the rest of these people in the safety and security of a jail is safer for the officer, is safer for the alien, is safer for the community. So one agent can arrest a bad guy in a jail rather than sending a whole team to the community. And with all the hate and rhetoric and attacks, then we got to send another team for security. So what one agent can do in a jail, we got to send 15 or 16 guys to do.
So does that sound like a reasonable step to you? People who are in jail going to be released by a state or locality. ICE has said we got a detainer on this person. We think they're removable. Let one agent go in to the jail versus what we're seeing on the streets of Minneapolis.
I mean, come on. We're still pretending that ICE is going after dangerous people. They aren't. Right now, 70% of the people that they are detaining have absolutely no criminal record. What is happening?
DHS says 70% of those they're arresting, and that's their number, do have some kind of criminal record.
What is happening in Minnesota right now is a dystopia. ICE is tear gassing elementary schools. It is disappearing legal residents into cars. It is murdering American citizens. ICE is making this country less safe, not more safe today. That is an emergency. That's why today 60% of the American people vehemently disagree with what ICE is doing, and we have to address that emergency right now. The Constitution is being abandoned by this administration right now as we speak, and so our focus over the next 2 weeks has to be reining in a lawless and immoral immigration agency in this nation. That's work that we have to do in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully it's work that Republicans and Democrats will be able to agree on.
Okay, there are...
All right. Good job. Good job, Senator. He does a great job. Yeah. All right. And finally, what I've got for you from MSNBC over the weekend, Norm Eisen, who is a ethics lawyer and a real smart guy. He went to Minnesota, and this is what he had to say on MS Now over the weekend.
Jackie, the conversations in Minneapolis and in Minnesota were absolutely extraordinary, meeting with both political leaders but also civil rights ones in the state and from around the country. I actually spent part of my time with the head of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, the head of LULAC, our nation's most prominent Latino, oldest and largest Latino civil rights organization. I've litigated with both of them and together with local civil rights leaders. And what we saw in Minneapolis, I very seldom quote Steve Bannon, but Bannon said Trump didn't just crash, he cratered. And what we saw in Minneapolis is something that the four of us have talked about all year. Every dimension of the pro-democracy, pro-constitution coalition coming together. It wasn't just political leadership. It wasn't just public protesters, and I talked to a lot of them. It's court proceedings, where among the successful proceedings there, the evidence is being preserved for possible future criminal prosecution, and massive public protest that even reverberated in Washington with the DHS funding bill. So Minneapolis is ground zero, as Birmingham was in 1963 or Selma was in 1965. Minneapolis is the center of the opposition to Trump, and every dimension of that opposition pushed him back this week. Big win for democracy at a terrible cost.
Yes, so perfectly said by Norm Eisen. Big win at a terrible cost. And yeah, Trump caved. He took back. He said, we're going to de-escalate a little bit. He said the words. So even if he doesn't, and we're going to make sure that we keep our eye on all of that. There's great journalists and activists working on covering and stopping that. But hey, that is huge. Huge. All right, so let's wrap it up. That's it. That's the news segment. That's what I've got for you. Those are headlines. Those are clips. I hope you appreciated it. Worked 4 hours on it. Can't do it without your support. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Want to also remind you, PodJam 3, get your tickets now. April 9th through 12th in Las Vegas. The link is in every day's show notes from now till then. In case I've missed it, you can, yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Now I want to bring on my guest. It's Dr. Christina Greer. We caught up on Friday. You can watch this conversation on YouTube or Substack. She is a Fordham professor, Fordham University in New York City. She's the co-host of FAQ NYC and In the Thick Show. She's got her own column at the New Amsterdam News, which is a longtime black newspaper that you should support. And we talk about one of her most recent columns about taking advantage of February to declutter. But before that, we get to all the very, very important consequential issues, many of which I covered in the news segment. And let's do it right now. Follow her on social media. She's one of our all-time favorites, good friend of mine. We love anytime we get to talk to Chrissy Greer, Dr. Christina Greer, right now. Look who I got on a Friday morning. There's breaking news. There's all kinds of things to talk about. There's almost nobody I'd rather talk about everything and nothing with than our friend, PhD, Fordham University, author, commentator, friend, declutterer, New Amsterdam columnist. It's Dr. Christina Greer, or as her friends call her, Chrissy. Good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Anytime. Good morning.
Lots to talk about with you as always, and I'm always happy to get the opportunity. People love when you join me. And I just got to ask you about this breaking news that Don Lemon has been arrested by the regime. And I just wanted to get your reaction to that news this morning. Not only Don Lemon, but another independent journalist, apparently, both of which were at that church where there was a protest, and they were also there, I guess, covering the protest.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Georgia Fort, who's also an independent journalist. Yeah, I mean, this is the intimidation tactic by this administration to make sure that journalists are a little reticent to go places, protesters are reticent to go places. I mean, this is what we see in all authoritarian regimes. This is what was promised during the campaign season, every day, all day. You know, when he said, I don't like the journalists, I don't like how they report on me, they should be locked up, lock them up, leaving these chants. And so now, especially, you know, he has a particular disdain for Black people, Black women in particular. And we see he's had 3 Black women arrested, and Don Lemon, who he said 2 weeks ago or a week ago, it's like, I don't like him. He should be arrested for the things that he says about me. And here we are. Now we have Pam Bondi, who clearly is just trying to stay in the good graces of the president because she's been slightly on the outs at times. And so what's so fascinating to me is everyone in the president's administration at some point in time, a few years ago, has said that he is grossly incompetent and he would drive this country into the ground and ignore all the rules. Yeah. And he's the most dangerous person for our democracy. And yet all of them are just in lockstep. And it's happening so fast. Teaching Intro to Politics, it's like I'm trying to teach them the foundation of American democracy as it crumbles, like in real time. So I feel like Turner's like, look at all this beautiful architecture as we run out of the flaming building. Like, this is literally what I'm trying to do twice a week. Just like, oh, wait, it's changed over time. Like, look at all this stuff. But wait, I can't tell you what the building's going to look like tomorrow. Good luck. Like, by the time I see you all on Monday, who knows where we're going to be?
I have 2 very astute observations about this Don Lemon arrest. One is it's going to backfire, similar to the way that the whole Jimmy Kimmel firing thing happened. He pressured FCC to get rid of him. In this case, he pressures DOJ. A couple judges are like, hell no, he didn't do anything. What are you talking about? Arrest him for what? Anyway, Don Lemon becomes greater, stronger, more influential than he's ever been as a result, is one astute observation. And the other one is, this is just another distraction. It's like he's got a bunch of Post-it notes or just ideas. That's all he thinks about. What's the thing I could do to drive today's news cycle? So it's like, wake up Friday morning. I guess it happened on Thursday night. And we'll all talk about Don Lemon being arrested for covering a protest in a church, as opposed to the Epstein files or any other number of very important, or you know, ICE in Minneapolis, where he was taking a real hit.
I think you're absolutely right. One, everything he does, from Iran to Venezuela to Minnesota to Don Lemon, is so that we can stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein, period, done. And 2, he knows, I mean, this man understands television and media and optics and
it's all he understands. A campaign, how to sell it, sales. Exactly.
Because, I mean, he said about the new Fed chair, he's straight out of central casting, right? I mean, this is why all the women are getting Mar-a-Lago face. I mean, he likes a certain aesthetic. And so I do think that, you know, the more we talk about Don Lemon being arrested and First Amendment and what is happening and Alex Preddy and like Minnesota, we're not talking about ICE agents. We're not talking about the fact that public opinion is changing. We're not talking about the fact that you promised cheaper groceries and cheaper gas, and that hasn't happened. We're not talking about the fact that your tariffs have been an unmitigated disaster for American farmers and American small business owners. We haven't talked about the fact that none of these tariffs have put the punishment on the country in the way that you promised it would. It's actually put it on the consumer. We're not talking about the fact that you've made over $1 billion in a year being president, and we still haven't seen your taxes. And you're suing, you're suing the IRS for $10 billion.
That was last night's news. Yeah, he's suing the IRS. A portion of
your taxes, right? So it's just like you've put judges in places so that they can do and say what you want. But then when certain judges actually either aren't beholden to you, or certain judges actually think about the law and their own reputations and choose not to just go in this Trumpian fashion, then he gets furious. And it's like, why are they a judge? They shouldn't be there. I mean, this man literally, first of all, we know he's half out to lunch. But when he is lucid, he's full on in dictator mood, as he promised he would be.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, I think you guys like a dictator. Wink, kissy.
Not focus. Yeah, it's just a distraction. And you had a great list of very important issues. One thing I would add would be he's destroyed our relationship with our friends and major trading partners. And like, if you just pay a little attention to the news and just trade, like all these other countries that had not made trade deals for like 30 years are making deals like Canada with Asia, South America with Europe. And it's like, we're leaving our market out. I mean,
we will not be able to detangle what he has done for at least a generation.
I disagree. I don't know what to say, but I think I want to disagree with you just because I don't want to believe that.
Well, I mean, with Venezuela, we saw what happened with Iraq. We're still sort of half in, half out. Like, we're not fully out. We're not fully out of Afghanistan. Do you know how many billions upon billions of dollars we were spending to be there?
I think markets
have school lunch.
I'm about to say something about economics I have no business saying publicly, but I feel like markets will snap back because people like to make money in capitalism. And if it's like, I've got a widget to sell you, and last month I couldn't sell it because that guy was in charge, and now the new guy's in charge and he pulled the switch and now I can sell it to you, they'll start buying it. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I don't think that you're wrong. And by no means am I an economist, right? I took AP Econ. I'm like, let's print more money. I mean, I feel like that's like the Donald Trump ethos. It's like, let's be Zimbabwe, where a chicken sandwich costs $1.3 billion. But
is that right?
I went to Zimbabwe and it was $1.3 million for a chicken sandwich and a beer. I was like, oh, this is what inflation looks like. I get it now. Like, I get it. But, you know, I think for so many years, America was sort of the central clearinghouse. So it's like, if other nations, our allies and friends, wanted to sort of do business with others, it's like, oh, we sort of go through America and team up, and then, you know, they're kind of like the point person and we're the plus one. We're the, you know, we're on the guest list, but America's the invite. And now they're like, oh, y'all are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Because the thing is, before, allies could say, that was a fluke. He got in. They didn't know. And so, you know, let's not punish them. He gets in a second time. It's like, oh, half of your country is nutty. And we can't negotiate with these people. We can't work with these people. Kash Patel, you want to have a meeting on a jet ski with your honeypot girlfriend everywhere, right? It's like, what are allies are like, she can't be here. We've got people in offices. It's like, you haven't even gotten clearance yet.
Oh my God.
Remember, Jared Kushner did not have the clearance he needed to have those conversations and be in the rooms where he was.
Wow.
So like, real organizations are like, what ragtag, janky nonsense is this country right now?
It really is.
And I think what he's exposed is like, we've been a little janky for a long time.
If this country under this regime were a 2-star amusement park, what kind would it be? Like, I feel like I've almost closed water
it's a
slide.
Hotel. No, it's a hotel. We're Howard Johnson. The brochure says that we're a Four Seasons, and we've always acted like we're a Four Seasons or a Ritz. But it's like, but I'm here, and this ain't the Four Seasons. This is like a Motel 6 at best.
There are ducks in the pool.
The road. But you know, like you see when you go online, like Expedia or whatever, and it's like, oh, this hotel looks great. And then you get there and it's like, because I finally realized like a 4-star hotel in Europe is like a 2.5-star in the States.
Yeah.
I finally had to stop like going through like American.com because I was like, I keep doing 4-star hotels and this is not it. So it's like, America, hey girl, 1, you're in danger. 2, he has exposed us for the fragility of our democracy, for the racism, for the cruelty, for the anti-immigrant sentiments that are just beneath the surface that he's excavated, for the passiveness of leaders, for the fecklessness of Congress that's just abdicating their power. I think the fact that we can villainize a mother who's unarmed in her car, we can villainize a nurse who is protesting. It's like, well, he had a gun. It's called the Second Amendment. And last I checked, you guys love talking about the Second Amendment. You love talking about the First Amendment, too, during COVID, where it's like, I can't wear a mask. When I go to Walmart, I have to breathe. You can't make me wear a mask. And now ICE agents, all they do is wear masks. Like, which one is it? Can you not breathe or can you breathe?
They don't really seem to know or care about the Fourth Amendment either, but yeah.
But also, you all have less training than my nail tech.
Oh.
Nail technicians and hairdressers and barbers need way more hours of training than these ICE agents. And people keep calling them officers. I was like, you're not an officer. That's disrespectful to police officers and National Guardsmen and women who have spent hours and months training, not just physical, but psychological training. These guys are just cosplaying because they've been playing, Fortnite and what's the shoot 'em up game in their mother's basement their whole lives. And now they get to cosplay in real life with guns and ammo and,
it's one guy said one of the ICE agents shooting rubber bullets, something said, it's just like Call of Duty, man.
That's exactly the one I'm saying. Yeah.
He's never been with a woman is the reporting.
But this is also, it's like, these are men, we keep having these conversations like, what's wrong with American men? And, they feel so left behind, especially white adjacent. And what should we do? And it's like, well, hey, what we shouldn't do? Give them guns and release them onto society. I don't know what we should do. I'm not a child psychologist, but I tell you one thing, we shouldn't arm them to the teeth and let them go into cities and sort of point guns at brown people.
I was not expecting. I really thought you had a prescription about what we should do. I was ready for it. You're like, I'll tell you what we should not do is let them go to the store and buy any weapon that they want. I think that's a thing we should say. We have a few questions. Could you fill this form out?
But Peter, when we're justifying detaining a 5-year-old, the vice president of the United States is like, well, his dad ran away. So, what we're supposed to do is just leave him. It's like, well, first of all, why were you there in the first place? Why were you harassing his father in the first place? Why are you all going to school pickup and drop off, harassing families? Do you know how many students who aren't in school? Do you know how many people who aren't at work? Do you know how many jobs are small businesses are going under because they don't have employees and also they don't have customers? Do you know how many women are suffering from domestic violence who aren't going to go to a hospital or a shelter or in public at all? The trauma and the cruelty is so long of what is happening. You and I, we've talked offline about this. Both of us had, by and large, great childhoods. Parents that loved us. We had fun sibling, yards to play in. We played games. We had friends, all the things.
Everything was idyllic. It was bike ride.
You're literally in your childhood bedroom looking at it, the beautiful birds.
I'm here now. Go ahead. Yep.
When we think about that, and you think about core memories, right? I think about a core memory is my first Christmas when we moved to Philly, and in a stocking stuffer, my parents got me a Duran Duran tape. My babysitter loved Duran Duran, and I loved Duran. I was a kid, but I loved Duran Duran, and they I felt like they got me. You know what I'm saying? They got me this Duran Duran tape that I really wanted. And it's what does a 6-year-old need to know about the reflex? And it's because I wanted it. And it's just that's a core memory for me of feeling like my parents didn't understand why the 6-year-old really wanted this Duran Duran tape. But they were like, whatevs. If this is what and I low-key still have the tape. But that's a core memory.
Time to declutter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We'll get to that. But core memories with my sister and making up dances and roller skating and all the things. These kids, their core memory is the pit in their stomach that they feel when they have to go to school and they don't know who's picking them up after pickup and drop off because their parents might be gone forever.
I was trying to think of what my daughter's core memory. I thought you might have been going in this direction, but I didn't go to school every day afraid of anything but maybe a bully or being ridiculed or embarrassed or things like that. But I didn't go to school ever thinking I was going to get shot. I know my younger daughter, especially, so many American students, has had to deal with that every day. She can't wait to move out of the country just for the simple fact that she won't have to worry about that. And that might be an irrational fear if you look at statistics or something like that, but I'll give it to any kid today whose core memory is growing up in an America with so much violence. You're talking about the undocumented community and what they're dealing with. We all know to some extent, COVID, lockdown, not being able to go to work. But they're having to stay inside, not go to school, not go to work to be able to pay for things because they're afraid of federal police.
First of all, they're not police. Let's not disrespect the police. Okay. These are vigilantes that are paid goo gobs of money by the federal government with minimal training and sort of a made up agency that we just sort of are.
So it's got to be something to catch all call all these guys.
Comes to mind, but let's not disrespect the police.
Federal goons.
And I have issues with the police for sure, but like, let's not disrespect the police and put these guys, because even the police are like, what are you doing? Like, we are trained not to pull out our gun unless it is absolutely impossible. And like, yes, we have examples of police officers who shoot innocent people. This is what we protest about as Black people all the time. But like, let's be clear, by and large, police officers are trained not to do that.
Police officers there are many police definitely, I will certainly concede to the point that police have to go through a lot more training than what these guys have to go through. The standards are generally higher.
Police
But
aren't walking down the street just like, I'm on patrol.
Well, I mean, they kind of are.
They should have.
Have you been to
you're properly trained.
A Port Authority?
Right. No, but those aren't police officers. Those are like, those are military officers.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's like, if you look at like any city municipal police officer, they are not holding their gun out in their hand with the finger on the trigger.
No, that's for sure.
Because they're trained not to.
Yes. That's most gun owners as well. Not just,
right?
Yeah.
Except for the Call of Duty boys that are like, hunting.
So what do you make of the inflection point? What do you want to call? How do you see what happened in Minneapolis after the deaths of several people now, two of which were on camera? Obviously, everybody knows a little bit about this, has some thoughts, have an opinion. But Chrissy, I really wanted to get your kind of general reaction to the resistance, to the people of Minneapolis, I think, creating kind of a cohesive community to protect vulnerable people. I've been really impressed. I've been talking to a lot of people from Minneapolis, the way that people have stood up and stood together. But what are your thoughts?
Well, sadly, Minneapolis isn't new to this type of tragedy.
Yeah.
This is what's happened many times in their communities. I think this is different. It reminds us of, sort of parts of the civil rights movement where it's like, well, now it's not Black people. Because that changes the conversation. Now you have white people who are like, I don't feel safe. Really? Welcome to America. And it's terrible that you feel this way. But this is the way so many people have been trying to explain to you that, like, you could get shot walking down the street. You're not even doing anything. Alex Breddy's going to help a woman who was pushed on the ice by the ice goons. And then they push him. And then I can't watch the tape because I grew up with these visuals from the 60s in the civil rights movement. And it feels the same. And it's that same horrible pit in my stomach where you get like the saliva taste. And it's like, it feels the same. And so I think we might, I can't say that we will, but we might turn a corner because it's innocent white people. I don't know. Because when you have the federal government now just saying like they were villains and domestic terrorists and just lies about who these people were and just repeating it, I think that we're so polarized right now where people are like, well, if they didn't want to get shot, they shouldn't have been there. And It's like, because so many people don't ever think that like their rights will be taken from, I'm talking about like MAGA supporters, and they want their rights to be taken away from them because they're like, I'd rather have less just to make sure that these immigrants don't have anything.
Does it ever get old, or should we not stop talking about how, I only call them this in this context, usually I call them names, but the president of the United States is on a daily basis putting targets on individual people's backs, from a congresswoman like Ilhan Omar, which he's done several times, and we saw her get attacked this week, to Alex Preddy, who he's now demonizing. Like, he goes after specific Americans. He puts targets on specific Americans and others all the time.
And encourages people to sort of, when he puts you in his crosshairs, he's essentially telling his supporters, like, go get them. That's what he did on January 6th. Like,
and I'll give you a pardon if you do.
Yeah, of course. That's why none of these ICE guys are like too concerned. Yeah. It's like, whatever. It might be a slight inconvenience, but like, you gave a blanket pardon to everyone from January 6th. And then you fired all the people who actually did their jobs to prosecute folks from January 6th.
That's right.
And so like Ilhan Omar, I mean, he's, again, his disdain for Black women, he's hated her from the very beginning. This whole like, we've got to find corruption in Minnesota is just because he doesn't like her. He doesn't like Somalis. He doesn't like immigrants. He doesn't like their country. We know that there's fraud everywhere, obviously. And we know that Texas has had their fraud and every state has their own little pockets. But this is just sort of like, we know that he kind of comes up with something in the middle of the night when he's alone and not sleeping. I mean, that's also just your hate tweeting on Christmas. It's like, right, because you don't have any family. Like, you're not with anybody. You're just literally in the room by yourself, wide awake, just angry. And so, like, it is frightening that it's the president of the United States who doesn't always has the TV on, right? But who doesn't understand the gravity of the job, doesn't understand the weight of his words. And the fact that we as a nation did not put in place rules after January 6th so that he could never run again and do this to our nation. The fact that when he didn't, and I was so enraged and incensed by this, and no one sort of matched my energy. And I was like, okay, maybe I know I'm not being histrionic because I'm not a histrionic person. But the fact that he did not attend Joe Biden's inauguration was indicative to me of the danger that he posed to democracy.
Well, that would have been like accepting
and that's
loss.
A peaceful transference of power that we have had as an institution since our inception. Yeah. Even when Bill Clinton beats George H.W. Bush, he's there presenting.
Yeah.
Even when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton go back and forth, and then he wins, she's there. Even when Donald Trump beats her, and, obviously it's part of her role as first lady, but it's like we acknowledge, and Biden went to Trump's inauguration. I mean,
but not only did he not acknowledge it then, yesterday he sent the FBI in to raid the Fulton County voting machines to get, he's still trying to prove.
He wants those 11,000 votes.
He's still going to come up with some kind of a lie that said that he got cheated. I mean, that's clearly
the only way he can sort of rest. Was I didn't win in 2020, so it had to have been fraud. But don't forget when he thought that he was going to lose in 2016. Remember, he kept saying all through the election season when it was purported that he was definitely going to lose to Hillary Clinton. He was like, it's rigged, it's fixed, it's a lie, everything's corrupt, everyone's cheating. And then when he wins, it's like, never mind, false alarm.
You mentioned Ilhan Omar. No surprise that he's targeting black women. Just wanted to get your take on Nicki Minaj.
Ugh. Well, I mean, so many people are like, why is she doing this? It's like, well, first of all, she's not a citizen. And so she recognizes that at some point in time, anyone who's not a citizen will have a target on their back. So she's trying to get ahead of things. She already has that little gold card that means nothing. So it's like, she's got to wait for her check to clear. But I don't know what her money is. I don't know what her finances are. But, it's been reported that her finances are a little funny. Both her husband and her brother have both been convicted of, sex crimes and sex offenses. So I think that she's trying to protect herself and her family. And she's also from a country that, is on the list that Trump thinks is like a trash country. She's Trinidadian national. So we can see this a mile away.
Self-interested.
That's it. And here's the thing, she hasn't put out a good album in a while. So it's not like her base is like, right. She'll just get a new base. And the sort of MAGA base, she's new and she'll be a chameleon and sort of rap about whatever they want. But if she's saying that the president's so attractive and charming, and it's like, lady, what are you doing? Like, tone it down a bit. Like, we get it. Okay. You don't have to go overboard.
It's a little bit too much. Nobody actually.
This is a bridge too far. Like, we get it. You need the citizenship.
He loves the flattery though. He lives on it. Lives on it all day long.
I mean, it's so crazy because all the world leaders are like, girl, all you got to do is just tell him he's pretty and you can get whatever you want.
Although the argument now is that didn't work. Like Europe tried that and he fucked them.
Well, I mean, because he's like, you didn't tell me it was pretty enough. Like, it'll never be enough.
You didn't give me you didn't give me Greenland.
Well, because the thing is, it's like
they drew the line at Greenland.
Right.
At annexing
when you
land.
have someone who is like so emotionally and morally bankrupt. Say nothing about how he's bankrupt. And Jerome Powell was like,
not anymore,
sir, we have seen you bankrupt all your businesses. You are not about to do this.
He's enriched himself by $4 billion in a year.
Yeah. So. In a year.
Yeah.
So there's a hollowness inside. There's a pit that will never be fed.
Yeah, I think it's a prerequisite to work in the administration. You have to be hollow. You could be see-through.
But I mean, like, when they play the compilation of like Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz, and Lindsey Graham, and Kristi Noem, all of them, it's like, this man is a danger, not to him, just to himself, to our nation.
All of those people saying that in 2015. Yeah, it's powerful to see and see how they all.
J.D. Vance,
Yeah.
Everybody. It's just like, keep him away from 1600 Pennsylvania, because this man is going to take us on a bullet train to hell.
His former chief of staff, John Kelly.
Yeah.
That guy's opinion holds a little weight, I think it's fair to say. But what are you most worried about headed into a midterm election? And what are you most worried about kind of day to day? We've seen obviously ICE is every day. We're not seeing the Epstein files. Everything seems to be a distraction, flooding the zone. Iran, he's just arrested one of the most prominent journalists, independent journalists in the country, raiding, the Fulton County. I mean, is there anything that you're specifically thinking, let's keep our eye on this, or are you trying to?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon promised that this is what we would feel, right? So it's like flood them with everything and so much trauma and chaos and images and anxiety and fear. And it's just like people are just going to shut down at a certain point in time. You remember how we felt like when Joe Biden got sworn in and it was like,
oh yeah, like a warm
everyone's
bath.
like, my blood pressure just went down, and like, my God, you didn't realize like how much you'd been holding. It's sort of like when you're commuting, you don't realize you're commuting. Right. So like, for example, if you've got to drive up to Syracuse twice a week, you do it. Right. Like your body's
I whine about it. I complain to people.
But like you do it. Your body will do it for as long as you need to do it. And then when you stop doing it and it's like, oh, I'm home for a month and I don't actually have to be on the road and all this other stuff. Yeah. And your body's like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. And then it allows you to just like release. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea just how much of a toll it took me. Because it's like, hey, I have to do it.
Yeah,
we are highly functioning individuals. I commuted for 3 years from Massachusetts back and forth to New York. Partner was in New York. I was in Massachusetts. Like, we got to make this thing work. And it's like, it wasn't a problem.
It can be
until
too
I
much.
stopped doing it.
But it can be too much. Like the analogy you're drawing is one you're saying you do it. You rise to the occasion. But I think that civil rights leaders and scholars have been, teaching us this for years, that you have to, they want you to quit. They want to grind you down and scare you into hiding and quit. That is the goal. That is the aim. They want you to be ignorant and apathetic. And so you always have to come back.
They want you to stop reading the news. They want you to sort of be like, oh, this protest, I don't want to get shot. I'm an independent journalist. I'm not going to speak out. I'm a professor. I'm not going to go on these shows. Like, it's just, they want sort of fewer and fewer voices, fewer and fewer passion. And I think one of two things is going to happen. Either that will happen and people will just sort of check out, or folks are like, no, like as Gavin Newsom says, or, the mayor of Minneapolis, it's like, it's coming to a town near you. Yeah, so like, you better support us now and you better speak up now before it's too late.
People want,
we have the examples.
What is it called? Like there's not an election till November and people are constantly saying, what can I do? What is it called when they get an opportunity to do something because ICE is now in their town and now they become the people who look out for and transport and wash and grocery shop and support and provide, like people to fight their anxiety. You've told us this. Do things, move your hands, go get something done. I do feel like people are rising to that occasion because they feel so frustrated, so angry, and so helpless that if you're going to come into my town and threaten my neighbors, I'm going to do something. That's what I'm seeing. And I hope, and we've seen that before in this country and certainly others, right? I mean, like,
I think that's the beauty of this country is that collective action is real. And this is how we've gotten out of these things before. And as I explained to my students, the beauty and the curse of American democracy is that everything that's done can be undone. Good and bad. And we ebb and we flow of high tide and low tide. We're in a low tide right now. But we do see people sort of like coming together, after like tragedies, whether it's 9/11 or Hurricane Sandy or whatever it may be. Right. And so we know that people are doing pickup and drop off for other people's kids. Right. We know that people are grocery shopping for their neighbors because they're sort of trapped in the house. We know that people are looking out for people's kids if their neighbor gets abducted in this particular circumstance. I hope that it's not just the National Association of Black Journalists who speak out on behalf of Don Lemon and Georgia Ford. I hope that it's all journalists who speak out. It can't just be NABJ supporting Don Lemon and Georgia Ford. And we need to put the two of them together because they're both independent journalists. And one is obviously more famous than the other because he was on CNN for many years. But like, let's be clear, like independent journalists are sort of keeping these stories alive. And so whether they have bigger platforms or not, they need to be part and parcel together. But if white people are just sort of like, I don't really know Don Lemon, so I'm just going to be quiet, this isn't the time.
I don't think you're going to see I think this is very similar to what happened with Jimmy Kimmel and every entertainer up and down.
The difference is Jimmy Kimmel wasn't arrested.
Absolutely,
Kimmel,
but all of the rest
got paid.
All of the rest of us said this has to stop right now. You can't do this. You can't be knocking people off of their stage, off their platform. In this case, I think journalists across the country, corporate, it's like when some journalist gets abducted or killed in another country, they start wearing the pin. Some Russian journalist, some American journalists, they wear the pin for 400 days. They talk about it. Jake Tapper talks about it every day or something, just mentions it. I think that American journalists are going to see what's happened to Don Lemon, and every independent journalist is going to climb up this mountain and meet him there. And I think everybody's going to come together. Like, you can't be arresting a journalist for covering this protest. I mean, I don't even understand exactly what happened that day, but I know 2 judges were like, there's nothing wrong here. You didn't do anything.
Right. This is a nothing burger. And so now we're just ignoring judges, which this administration has done time and time again. But I mean, here's the thing. It's like, are people going to speak out? I would hope that they do, but
my concern is that
that remains to be seen.
I think everybody's going to speak out. My concern is the one I had at the beginning, which is this is going to be a dominant issue. Don Lemon is a kind of celebrity journalist. Everybody knows this guy. And now we're all going to be talking about him and say free Don Lemon, which we should. But also, where are the Epstein files? What about every other story that really matters and impacts the government shutdown potential, the trade war, and all of the rest of the corruption that's happening? And we will be distracted by this. And that's why they do it to some extent, I'm guessing.
Right. Listen, when was the last time that the Epstein files were on the front page of the New York Times or CNN?
When some new file was released or some legal action was taken, I think a couple days ago.
It's been a minute.
Ghislaine Maxwell is going to have to testify. And apparently she said a couple days ago, we heard news that she said 25 prominent men all bought their way out of prosecution. Didn't get nearly enough coverage, but I did see that. That seems like a pretty important thing to pursue.
We all know that this office is up for sale.
Oh, hell yeah. More than any office ever. More than a mayor. More than Boss Hogg. I mean, come on.
We've seen people paying for pardons. We've seen people paying to, get out of prison. I mean, we've got world leaders. It's like, you were convicted. And it's like,
Yeah.
What's drug trafficking? What's that? We haven't talked about Maduro. Are we going to start just kidnapping? I mean, I think this is where world leaders are like, he just disagreed with him and went to his country and kidnapped him.
He's threatening the Ayatollah every day, the supreme leader of Iran. And he sent the Navy there. So that also could be a thing that we watch.
And as someone who does her family budget, we ain't got the money for this. I'm going to leave morality and international geopolitical politics out of it for a hot second. Let's just talk real New York business. Girl, we don't have the money.
You're talking about for foreign adventures and wars, no doubt about it. We never have. We never have. We always put on the credit card, but we don't have the money for ICE. But we did we did budget the money for ICE. We took money from people's health insurance subsidies and gave it to these goons that can't do 15 push-ups or run a mile.
They're saying that these 5-year-olds, if you can't afford your school lunch, that's on you, Timmy. That's on you. Don't forget, Philando Castile was constantly in trouble because he would give kids lunch and he wasn't supposed to, or he would pay for their lunch, which again, he wasn't supposed to do. But he would see a child who did not have, money on their books, basically, and either he would pay for it himself, which is not allowed, or he would give them some sort of food.
Speaking of which, just every day, so many huge stories that matter that go undercovered. The Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, of course, that department is in charge of SNAP and getting food to schools and to people who need it. She proudly went on television and said they just cut some, I don't know the number, a huge amount of money from SNAP. She said, we believe in giving a hand up, not a hand out. And it's just so brutal. It's so brutal. It's food. It's food. It's not necessarily.
But listen, we plant trees that won't bear fruit because we don't want people to have free food. So we've always done that. I just think that have you had a colonoscopy?
Have I?
Listen.
I'm getting one during this conversation.
Right, you're having
Are we done here?
I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's worth it just for those drugs alone.
Oh, hell yes.
That's the best anesthesia.
That's why I reacted that way.
That anesthesia is top notch.
It is top tier. We agree.
It's like, this is what Michael Jackson was using every night. I was like, wowzers.
I would too if I had his dope.
On a minor scale, like I had my first one a few years ago when I turned 45, and I was a rookie. So they gave me a 4 p.m. appointment. Rookie move. Right? You always want the 9 a.m.
Get the morning. You want to eat.
Gotta have the morning, people.
Yeah.
Okay? But, of course, I'm a rookie, so whatever. But that means I have to start fasting that afternoon, the day before, and then it carries into 4 o'clock. And then afterwards, I'm stuck in traffic to get home to eat. Like, it was just, when I say medieval torture. So I'm a little hangry, obviously. And my stomach's growling, I'm drinking the Sledge or whatever. And I know that this is like such a minor point, but I was like, I have never had a day in my life where I was like hungry because I couldn't afford food.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm hungry right now because I'm getting this colonoscopy. I'm hungry because I didn't plan my day out and I'm in these meetings and my stomach's growling. But it's like, I have a lot of educators in my family and in my life. And like, Chrissy, a hungry child cannot learn. It is so hard. They are trying so hard. First, they're kids, but they're trying so hard.
A hungry adult can't focus on anything.
I can't focus. And guess what? I am not my best self. And you've seen glimmers of Chrissy not her best self. So it's like, I just feel like the level of cruelty to say, these children are stealing from the roles of government where, okay, so you just demolish the East Wing. I'm fascinated by the story that I first heard from Pablo Torre about the soil from the East Wing that it seems as though they're dumping on some public golf course in DC because they're supposed to have renovations 2 years from now. And it's like, wait, but does this soil have asbestos in it? Like, are you dumping potentially toxic soil on a public golf course? It's like, that's on the nose for this administration if that is indeed the case.
They are very much deregulating all the environmental standards. Which doesn't get nearly enough coverage. My friend Kim says in the live chat, hungry when you can't afford food is different. You don't know where that next meal is coming from. Yeah, the anxiety that adds to it. One time when I first lived in New York and I was too proud to take, any money, I had no money in the bank account. I really did. I had no money for food. And I stole an apple from a bodega and I immediately got caught. He saw me take it. He's like, where are you going with that apple? Do you know what I did? I threw the apple up in the air and I ran. That's the end of that story. I stole an apple, got caught, threw the apple in the air and ran.
And still didn't eat.
No.
But I think but also we criminalize poverty in this country and we surround it with shame.
Oh yeah.
So that when people are in need, and especially this particular administration just makes it seem like it's a moral failing. And it's like, you all are stealing at rates that we can't even keep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. The white collar crime, the idea that people are more, it's so funny. You just said that. It's not funny at all, but nothing is more American than criminalizing poverty. But I was just thinking why would you be more angry at a poor person who committed a crime to get by, to steal, to get a meal, whatever, versus a rich person who has everything. And they're stealing from the middle class person's investment portfolio or whatever. They're getting a pardon.
That you don't have because these immigrants took it. Took what?
They didn't take anything. They're doing so many of the jobs that you could never do. And you're happy to have them do it. You're happy to exploit their illegal, their undocumented status.
Yeah. Which I think is also an interesting point, though, because we've stopped calling folks undocumented and we've switched solely to illegal alien, which I think dehumanizes.
Now the government has changed the standard. Yeah, we are still trying to refer to them as humans, I think.
It's human beings, because I was like, if we want to talk about illegals, ask the Native Americans. They're like, all y'all got to go, all 330. So I do think that it's so interesting, living in New York, because so many, 340 million. So many people buttress one another, especially if you take public transportation. I take public transportation a lot, A, because I believe in public transportation, but B, most of the time it's faster than sitting in an Uber. And I like
cheaper.
comfort, but and cheaper, but usually I have to get someplace. So I don't have time to sort of sit in a car and be above ground. But I was going to the train station. I was going to Philly and I needed to be there early in the morning for whatever. I can't remember why. And so my train was at 7 a.m. And so I was like, it'll take me literally 30 minutes on the train. So I hop on the train at 5:30 or something like that, just in case, I miss one and whatever. And when I say it was standing room only at 5:30 in the morning, because it's folks are coming from work, folks are going to work. I felt like I was on the shift change time period.
Yeah.
Of folks coming back and going to.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at people's hands, looking at their shoes,
their boots,
looking at what my grandparents would call bone tired. It's you're tired, sure. And but there's some people where it's oh, you're on your way from your second job to your third job. And you're napping from your second job onto your third job. That's a level of exhaustion that a lot of people have no idea about. And they're the ones being criminalized.
And I'm not saying there aren't a lot of poor white people who are working real hard, but if you think that black and brown people are lazy and don't work hard and are living off the fat and all those myths that you've been told for your whole life, then ride the subway at 3 a.m. and it will be filled with black and brown people who are going to or coming from work, working the hardest jobs and the worst shift, generally speaking. Or go visit your mother in the hospital, for God's sake. I've been in the hospital for the last 3 weeks, and it's just been it's so enlightening. I'm not surprised by anything other than people that work in hospitals will to come back the next day.
But also, it's you're there at 2 a.m, and guess what? So are a whole bunch of other people making sure that your mom is okay.
Oh, hell,
so we're their kids,
all night long,
right?
All night long.
We're their spouses. But what's so interesting? I'm taking this class, Sanitation Academy.
Oh yeah, you told me about this offline, and I'm fascinated. I want to take it.
Learning all the things about sanitation and how we move trash for 9 million people, and not including the people coming to New York every day to work and live in other places. And so I'm learning so much. So it's through the Sanitation Academy, it's great. It's all these different modules. So I finished a module yesterday, and it talked about how being a sanitation worker is one of the 4th most dangerous jobs in the country. Because you're on an active road, right? You're operating a truck that crushes things. That's one. But cars aren't necessarily always paying attention to you. You're on a moving vehicle as someone who's jumping on, jumping off. You're lifting. You're dealing with sometimes people put toxic things in the trash.
Bags of shard glass that rip your femoral artery open.
Paint or whatever it may be that you're ingesting. And so it's one of these things where it's right. Our trash seamlessly moves in and out of the city for 9 million people. And that's a low estimate because of all the transplants who come in 7 days a week, not just 5 days a week. 9 million people plus, and it just miraculously goes away. And we're using, I forgot however many tons per day, find it, 12.5 tons daily. That's 25.
Insane. I love that you're learning about this. You're driving to a point, but it's fascinating to hear the statistics, much less know about this.
Just all the, and so the thing is, it's these are people, back in the day, they used to wear white because they were the line of defense, just like doctors, to make sure that we don't die of disease. Because trash can bring a lot of disease. So it's they no longer wear white, but back in the day when they were sort of professionalized in the late 1800s, it's they are as important as the medical community for keeping you alive.
Outside my apartment, they couldn't get the trash door to the dumpster open, so people started leaving their trash on the snow. And they often, people where I live, they leave their trash outside the garbage. And I don't care. I don't care, but I always pick it up because I don't want to have trash on the ground near me. And
in New York, we have rats. We have some neighbors.
Yeah, I don't want rats.
It's a block issue, and there's some buildings on the same block, but have nothing to do with our building. But they don't have proper trash abatement, so of course they have rats. But it's not like rats are oh, well, let's not go to this house because they clean their trash.
No.
They run the block.
We have hamsters. We don't. I just thought that would be funny if you had like a hamster infestation, like those cute little ones you got at the pet store. Before you go, one more interesting, fun subject. You have a great column at the Amsterdam News, which has been around for 150 years. And go to amsterdamnews.com, search for Christina Greer's columns, and always read it. Subscribe as well. And
support Black media.
Support Black media is the name of my new show. It's just me. This piece is helpful, and it's called A New Year Means a Clutter Cleanse in More Ways Than One. I am addicted to decluttering. I make messes. I'm messy. And then it drives me nuts. And when I clean, I feel amazing. It affects me in every way.
Energy.
I don't know how to talk about it on a podcast or in any way that makes it interesting to other people. When I saw you write this, I was like, well, I got to ask her. And so it's actually an important issue to make your life better. But why now, first of all? End of January, beginning of February?
So two real reasons. So I started the clutter cleanse January 1st, but you can do it February 1st too. And also February shorter if you're sort of feeling, a little anxious about it. But the clutter cleanse for the listeners is on January 1st, you get rid of, on the first of the month, you get rid of one item. The second, you get rid of two. The third, you get rid of three, and so on and so forth. So since today is January 30th, I have to get rid of 30 items. Now, it could be this pen no longer works. I trash it. That is technically one item, right? What I have done is I have jars and mugs of pens. I have been cleaning those out. That's one item. I'm not doing each pen. I'm sort of I just threw away a chunk of 20 pens. That's one. I'm going through file cabinets. I went in my office, my Fordham office, opened up a file cabinet. First thing I saw, fall 2015. Stack of pens.
Gone. I'll hold on to it for nostalgia purposes.
I didn't even open it. I was 11 years ago.
I have midterm quarterly grades from elementary school.
Listen, but those are yours. These are students where it's this was a final paper. You can come and pick it up. I had notes from grad school my first semester, and I was I don't even know how to read these notes. This is such upper level statistics. I don't even do that anymore. That's when I was knee deep in stats. Giving away books is really hard for me, but it's well, girl, you got 4 of these books. And also for me, it's someone else needs this. So let it go. Because especially when it comes to
I can't get rid of my books.
Listen, but I've got 3 rows back. It's you have to, because I can't open up new blessings and new energy in my life if I'm holding on to books I haven't opened in 20 years.
Don't tell me that. I won't do it.
And here's the second most important piece. On February 17th is the year of the horse that comes in, right? So we're exiting the snake. This is why relationships are ending, and sort of there's a lot of shedding that's going on that people are feeling what's happening? It's the snake is ending, and not only is the year of the horse coming, it's the year of the fire horse, which happens every 60 years.
Not the fire horse.
A fire horse, and the fire horse energy is supposed to be just gangbusters, super positive abundance. You say it, it manifests. You get it. So be intentional about your words and your actions. And I'm the year of the horse, so it's even double for me. And I was I need to be prepared for all this amazing energy that is proven does exist. And it's I don't want to start the year of the fire horse with all this old stuff.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I do know that I dated a lady who nicknamed me the fire horse. I'll tell you that right now. Nice gal.
Can you be serious for 1 second?
You're talking about fire horse energy.
Listen.
You're talking about fire horse energy. You're talking about what's it called?
This is the Chinese zodiac, and it's been around way longer than us, so I'm into it.
I'm not doing astrology on this show. I don't know what
No, it's the Chinese zodiac.
They'll give you a Chinese zodiac. I don't know what that meant. It might have been a threat. Right. It might have been a hug. I don't know.
So anyway, for your listeners,
declutter.
When in doubt, throw it out.
It's always a good reason. It's always a good time. Marie Kondo radicalized me. That book got me. I tried everything.
Well, I told my parents, I was the Swedish death cleanse, they haven't done it, but I was please start to do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's not fair to your family and friends that they have to sift through your papers from God knows how long.
Speaking of which, what are the ethics? You know my situation. My mom's in the hospital. I'm here with my dad. I think they should want me to sift through and, help them declutter. And I've made a dent without getting in trouble. But when can you take other people's stuff and start reorganizing it for them. Is that?
But I think that I wouldn't do papers and like potentially sentimental things. I would start with like the kitchen and the pantry.
Well, I took all his papers and I put them in a box, and I was like, you should just go through this and decide what you want. But it's like a mess on the counter, so just put them in one box. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what's what.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's straightening. You're not throwing things out.
I get yelled at.
I'm a master straightener for other people's homes.
Yeah.
In one of my, many BB items. Because if I straighten up your house, like if I come over and you're like, Chrissy, my house is a mess, but I'm having people over. It's like, I can straighten your house in like 20 minutes, but just know that wherever I put the thing that you had, it's no more than arm's distance away from where it was.
Oh, that's a good tip or good idea for them.
I will never take something from the kitchen and put it in the bedroom, because then you go crazy.
You have a lot of friends and you travel a lot and you stay with people. When you go to somebody's house and you're staying in their home, and how do you handle their clutter? Do you say anything? Do you do anything?
No, but if I'm in someone's guest room, there's like a lot going on, which I can't. I can't.
What do you do?
What I would do while I'm there is like take all the stuff off the dresser and just like, put it in like a neat pile. So then I can have the dresser like clear, right? It's like if stuff is in all the drawers, then it's like, okay, I'm just going to live out of my suitcase. But like, some people have like tons of pillows and dolls or whatever. If you're in old people's houses, they love a doll. And so it's like, okay, I'm putting all this stuff just like in the closet.
Who loves a doll?
While I'm here, and old people love a doll. They love a doll.
Do they? I didn't know that.
I don't know. But old people love pillows and dolls. And so then before I leave, I put everything back the way they had it so that they don't see that like I couldn't deal with all their stuff.
Clever. Thank you for all the tips. Thank you for all the advice, the insight, the knowledge, the wisdom, the humor, all of it. You're always one of our favorites. I'm going to go declutter. I have
30 things? No, start in February. Just one item on February 1st. So I have to do 30 today. And there are like 2 drawers that I haven't gone through. A few months ago, I did my linen kind of
How'd you do? How bad? What was the worst like item you had in there? The most like longest term pathetic thing you found in your linen closet or linen space?
Oh, just like some like hand towels. Or it's like, you're not using these hand towels. Like, why are these here?
See,
like,
I would keep them for something. I would be like, I'll probably use them to clean something at some point.
Because I already have rags from old towels.
Yeah, I keep them as a rag.
So my mom's a quilter. And so I put things in a whole special section just for her. So when she usually drives up to visit, and I just have like these, TJ Maxx bags that I give her because she can use those for batting. And she's in like a quilting circle. So they can rip that up and like, she'll put them.
See, that's what I do too. I keep everything because I think I believe in sustainability so much that you can turn something into something. And I have.
Take it to Goodwill.
So much nonsense in my house, much less my apartment.
It's Goodwill. Then just like but it has to get out of your house because that feeling when things get, people who have those Goodwill bags that they'll have for 2 years there. And then all of a sudden they start going through the Goodwill bag like, oh, I missed this. No, you don't. So it's like, get it out of your house so you can like release that energy.
Next fall, it's no secret that my ex-wife is likely moving to Italy and I'm moving back into my house. I want to do like a reality YouTube show where anybody, including you, can come up and just like look at how much nonsense I have created. Because I think I might need to get one of those dumpsters for all my outdoor projects, I mean, I got like
projects to nowhere.
So many outdoor projects to nowhere. It's so sad and pathetic. I would be so embarrassed, but also I'm for entertainment and comedy.
Right. But here's the thing. It's like, that was a version of you that's no longer you. And that's okay.
It is. I'm still that guy. I don't want to be. I really don't want to be.
But that project at that time that you started and you didn't finish, it's okay. And like, I think that's the thing we just talked about. Like this culture always attaches a lot of shame to a lot of different things. And it's like, I used this thing. I no longer use it. It no longer serves me. And this is what I sort of been a lot better at. If it doesn't bring me joy, it has to go. So like, I just got this new phone, spending all day at Verizon. Like, I hate setting a new phone. It's a day long, and I'm still dealing with transfers. But I was going to get this case, and it was a blue. I was like, it's fine. It's nice. I tend to like a bright case so I can always find my phone in my bag with all my stuff. And there was a case that was this bright orange that I liked, but it was more expensive by $5. And I put the blue one in my buggy. And then I was like, what are you doing? You're about to buy something that you're meh about, but the one that you really like, that is going to help you, in your life, because you always have so much stuff going on. You need to visually see a bright orange case. And it's also going to bring you joy because you like orange and green. Those are your two favorite colors. Why would you buy a blue one if it's not your favorite color and it doesn't bring you joy? Just because the orange is a little more expensive. And I bought the orange. And I was like, Greer, what are you doing?
Yep.
My orange.
I bought orange. We both bought the same case.
Oh my gosh. But I have the 17. You have the 17 Pro or something.
No, I have the 29. I'm way ahead. I have an Apple.
Listen, I had a 13.
Apple.
I had a 13. So let's just say
I had
it took a long time to.
I had a Palm Pilot.
This thing is like, it says it's connected, but it's waiting to connect. I don't get it.
Well, good luck on that. That's a nightmare. The transfer, the new phone.
I'm just going to take it to this and be like, I have to figure out Signal. That's the only thing that I have to figure out.
All right. That shouldn't be too hard. Well, thank you for helping us figure all this stuff today. Always a great conversation. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Keep up the great work.
I'm going to be on you about that fire horse energy. On you.
Please.
Like, February 17th. It's happening.
I can't wait. I'm the fire horse.
You're not the fire horse.
I am. A lot of people think so. A lot of people are saying. Good night. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching live.
On my phone.
Yeah, we love it. We love the laugh. We love all of it. There she goes, everybody. In case you didn't know. I stopped the tape. It's me again, the host. I'm Pete Dominick. I can't do this without you. I am so happy that you bumblebees listened all the way to the end, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you very much. This is the part where I just talk to you, because you're special. You're the ones that listen to it all the way to the end. You know who you are. Yeah, should have a list. Should have a list, and I should say your names every day. I have a list. Some of you have responded in the past. Maybe I should start it over. If you're hearing this, I'll add it. I'll go through the emails. Who are my bumblebees? At one point, I upgraded you to honeybees, but then there was some pushback. You want to stay bumblebees, apparently. Either way, you're an exclusive club, and I'm so happy to be a part of your club. Thank you for listening. Thank you for pressing play, for subscribing, for all of the things that you do for me, for my family, and for this community. I will talk to you tomorrow here on Stand Up. And now our own Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter John Carroll can take us out as he does every day. JohnCarroll.org.